Game, did looking back on it, the schedule you laid out and everything leading up to that, obviously no need to change that script. Everything worked out fine. As far as having the guys ready, did you like the way they responded to?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, going back to the Houston game, being able to get some guys out of that football game to give them a little bit of rest, going into that Tennessee week. But everything went well. We had a good week of preparation. Guys handled it. Even though it was a little bit of a shorter, time frame for us, but the guys handled it well. Good week of prep, and did a nice job. So they're comfortable with that schedule.
Did ETN get banged up in the game a little bit?
No.
No? Okay. So just more Jermichael was in the game plan, or?
No.
No.
We'll do it off the record.
Obviously, this Saturday night, prime time matchup of these quarterbacks, Justin and Trevor. When you look at the whole AFC, everybody who's in the playoffs, it seems like the top quarterbacks from 1 through 7, providing Lamar and Tua are healthy enough to play,
Right.
are in this. So could you just talk a little bit about just having a conference just loaded with upcoming quarterbacks?
I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting for the game. It's exciting for fans, the league, the whole thing, to have these young quarterbacks who are, year in, year out, vying for these postseason spots. And now Trevor gets his opportunity, right? And it just goes to show you that that how important that position is, as we know. And we're just fortunate and blessed to have Trevor as our guy, and how much he's improved over the course of the season, and leading this football team, and really looking forward to watching him now on this type of stage. Last week was a step for him. Obviously, now this is another step in that direction. And but yeah, the list you mentioned, particularly in the AFC, it's a good group.
All these quarterbacks are all right now ages basically 23 to 27. When you look back when you were growing up, and you look at the 80s, particularly with Elway, with Marino, with Kelly, with Boomer, Steve Young, Joe Montana.
I mean, it was right there. It's kind of the same thing. All those guys back then. A lot of them were in the league when I was playing. As a rookie or a first year player, and got a chance to watch these guys firsthand. But we're kind of fast forward now into the to where we are today, and it's kind of very similar. These guys these are all very capable men to win these type of football games, and that's why it's exciting this time of year.
Are these guys prepared a little bit more because of all the 7-on-7 camps, just getting ready earlier to be guys
there's a lot more exposure, obviously, with these younger guys today. Whether they're prepared or not, it just depends on when you get them and how you coach them up. I do think that their exposure to the social media and media in general, kind of prepares them a little bit for what's at stake, and kind of magnifies and amplifies the games just a little bit. But these guys are as prepared as the older veteran guys years ago were, and it's still the same excitement.
Are you concerned that the offense has been a little flat for a few weeks in a row now?
I'm not concerned, but we've got to do a job, this week in preparation. We got to get our guys prepared, and they got to, we got to get them focused in a little bit, for whatever reason. But I'm not concerned from the standpoint of we've kind of been through it, this season. Obviously now it's not the time to take a step back, and but really looking forward to this week of preparation and for this game Saturday night.
And you've already seen the Chargers once this year. That was week 3, though. How much have they changed since then?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long time ago. I mean, there's some new faces on their side. There's some new faces on our side, and schematically probably both the same. With us and with them, and really, again, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, you're not gonna trick anybody. It just comes down to execution. Both sides, them and us, and I'm looking forward to it. Watching our guys again on this type of stage. We haven't been there. This team, and obviously it'll be a great atmosphere, home game for us, and really looking forward to watching our guys perform.
When you're preparing for them, do you rely more on that week 3 tape, or are there more recent footage when you're trying to figure out exactly what to expect?
I think you go back and you watch it and you see, from an X's and O's standpoint, and personnel standpoint, kind of how we attack them, how they attacked us, both sides of the ball and special teams. And then you kind of look at the whole body of work since, and if there's anything that's changed and why it changed, and and then you put your game plan together, that way and according to that. And this is a good football team. They got a great young quarterback as well, and I know they'll be ready to go. They're looking forward to this opportunity just like we are.
So you talk a lot about earning the players' trust. What were the mechanics of that? Like, what was the first thing you did to do that specifically, or a couple of instances where you did it?
Well, I think it started back in the off season when we got together for the first couple of days, in April. I just wanted them, kind of the biggest thing was get to know me, really not as the head coach, but just as a guy, and obviously in the head coaching role, but just to see that, how they could gain my trust, and that was to be open and honest and transparent with them, and just show them exactly how the off-season program was going to go. Gave them a calendar, from day one that says, hey, these are the days we're going to work. These are, days you're going to be off, and you just slowly start gaining their trust. And as we got into it, I think that's when their tension maybe eased a little bit, and they got more comfortable with who I am and who I was at the time, and and then it just builds. It just builds from there. And the more honest I can be, and I'll be honest with them in a way that, from a correction standpoint, right on the field. I'll be honest with them if they act up off the field. I'll just keep presenting the same message the whole time, and I think that just slowly gains their trust, as we headed into training camp and obviously through the season.
I'm assuming giving them, or a lot of the veterans, the mini camp off earned you some major brownie points as well.
I mean, you look back at it now and you go, did those 3 days matter? Honestly. And quite frankly, sometimes your team's a little bit different in the spring than they are sitting here in mid-January. And, but yeah, I mean, stuff like that can go a long way to building, team unity, team camaraderie, and it kind of catapults you into camp.
When did they earn your trust?
My trust? I really felt it coming into training camp, with this group. Still a work in progress, obviously, but I think, again, the more we got to know each other, they got to know me, I got to know them, and the more time we spent together is when things really began to kind of click and felt like you had a good cohesive group, and we were kind of had moved on from the past, and we were focused, on the upcoming year.
I know it's still going, but does it make it a little bit more rewarding to you knowing the obstacles, like building trust with the team that had been broken, that you had to kind of go through to get to this point?
I really think that's why we're here, being able to work through some of those issues and challenges, back then, and that's part of this game, and I've got to be able to trust the players just like they got to be able to trust me, not only on the field but off the field as well, and then the players have to trust each other on the football field and off the football field as well. So there's been, all those things that we went through, maybe what they went through, has kind of prepared us, for moments like this.
Doug, you talked earlier in the season about the team needing to learn how to win. You guys were able to do that. You've won shootouts, you've won blowouts, you've won, coming back from behind. But, it seemed like Saturday was the first win where it was almost like a slugfest. What does that sort of say about your team to be able to win in all these different kinds of ways, specifically on Saturday?
A win's a win's a win. It's hard to win in this league, and I don't care how you do it. Bottom line is you got to try to figure out a way. And sometimes you're going to score 40, sometimes you're going to score 20, or 10. And, sometimes the offense is hot and sometimes they're not. Defense is smoking, or special teams, whoever it might be. And that was the type of game it was, this past Saturday. I mean, that's a good football team, that we played. And look, they were playing for the same things we were playing for. And that was a win and in scenario. Wasn't our best offensively, we know that. But it was one of our best games defensively and on special teams. So that's just how football seasons go. That's how teams go. And this time of year, it really doesn't matter as long as you figure out a way, to win that game.
The defense the last month or so has made big plays in big moments. Yeah, they might have given up some scoring here or there, but then they make the pick six against Dallas. Is it play calling? Is it execution of players that's better down the stretch? What is it?
I think again it just comes down to the trust factor within the unit, and trusting the coordinator who making or the play caller to make the call, and then may not be the best call at the time, but the players seem to make it work, right? And that's when you got a team that believes in what you're doing, and they're growing together as a unit, and you're seeing it with the defense, you're seeing it with the offense. Special teams is they kind of maybe started a little bit sooner, than the other two units, but now you're seeing it as a team, and that's the important thing. You talk about peaking at the right time. Well, that started for us, December, and now here in early January, where you're starting to come together and figure some things out.
Doug, you mentioned, going back to that preparation, I think one of the things you mentioned last week was the concern about the long day on Saturday before the night game, because they haven't had a whole lot of night games. What did you advise them to do that day? Anything in particular?
I just told them to get off their feet, to rest, take a nap, maybe watch some more tape, whatever they could do, just to, I didn't want them running around town or, spending a lot of time at home with family and friends, because sometimes that can pull you away and drain you a little bit mentally as well. But just if they could just get away and take some time for themselves and then get over here and get ready to play. But, it's a long day. We got together, we did some meetings and things like that, on game day. But, for the most part, guys did a nice job of just handling, their particular business.
Did you have them come to the stadium any earlier than
No.
before a game?
No, kept the schedule the same, didn't change up. Not a big believer in changing because we got a big game or, now a postseason game, but just keep everything the same. But just advise them that, hey, in these moments, you don't want you don't want your emotions to control you. You've got to control the emotion, and that's what they did.
In regards to the front seven specifically, what was it say having so many guys who like they're playing their best football of the season? It feels like you could go kind of up and down the list.
I mean, it just shows that they're buying in, to what the defense and what Mike has been talking about in the scheme, and look, it takes time. It takes a little time to gel as a unit. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower, and but it takes time, and you're now seeing that and kind of sticking with it, and you're not reinventing the wheel. On offense or defense, you're sticking to basically your game plan for the season and what you're trying to get accomplished that week. And the players have just bought into that, and that's the trust factor that you talk about.
It's got time for one or two more.
What have you seen in his brief time here from Corey Peters? I mean, a little bit of a late arrival to the locker room party, right? But what kind of influence, impact have you seen so far?
Yeah, no, veteran guy. He's played a lot of football. Really, somebody that's really kind of anchored the center of that D line. And you're starting to see, his impact. He had a great game, the other night, and it was good to see. Good to see him. Good to see Roy. Good to see, D-Ham. Those guys, play well and play well together. And he's just a humble guy that takes his snaps when he can get them, and he makes the most of his opportunity. And he's been a really good leader for that group.
Would you recall? I mean, did like Trent come up to you and say, "Hey, I think we should go after Corey. I mean, how did that whole?
Yeah, no, we had conversation about it, and obviously, you know, Brenston Buckner's got some familiarity with him and coached him before, and so we had those meetings and those conversations, and we felt like he'd be a good addition to the room.
Big stage, playoffs, a lot of guys on the roster haven't been there before. You talked about wanting to get them experiencing these moments. Do you rely on some of the guys that have been there, done that kind of deal? Do you have maybe a Darius Williams who was on the biggest stage last year talk to the team or anything like that this week?
It's always a possibility. I haven't, you know, thought about that yet, you know, but it is nice to have guys that have had some post-game or, you know, postseason experience. Guys you can lean on and maybe just kind of voice their feelings on how to handle, you know, situations. I did it back in 17 and 18 and had some of those guys talk to the team, and it's sometimes now you get to this late in the year, they're tired of listening to me, you know, listen to their teammates a little bit, and just really too how, you know, how those guys prepare during the week and how they handle their week, because now, you know, so, you know, for us the postseason started last week, you know, everything from last week on is a, you know, win and continue scenario. So guys like that can bring a lot of information to the rest of the team.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys. Yep, thanks.